Greetings, people. This is the Mexican American channel. You are welcome to join us. Hit the like button to support the channel and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. We must not forget our icons and heroes. Ricardo Flores Magón, revolutionist, journalist, and dramatist, son of Teodoro Flores and Margarita Magón, was born in Oaxaca, September 16, 1873. Ricardo was an important participant in the social movement that sparked the Mexican Revolution. Francisco Madero, Pancho Villa, Emiliano Zapata, and others took the Mexican Revolution through its fighting phase, but it was Ricardo and the Magonistas who opened the road to revolution in Mexico. In so doing, they changed the course of history both north and south of the border. Those who supported Ricardo and his brothers were known as the Magonistas and were present in both Mexico and the United States. They faced similar treatment by the Diaz regime and the United States government, as both sought to use imprisonment as a tool to break the movement and put an early end to any revolutionary activity. The Magonistas and the Flores Magón brothers represented a threat to both the American and Mexican financial elite because of their demands for land redistribution. For the Magonistas, seizing lands and investments from their wealthy oppressors to redistribute to the working class formed the base of their movement and political desires. After decades of economic exploitation, members of the Mexican working class had grown increasingly aggravated and more inclined towards resolving their grievances through violence. The Magonistas were not the only group of revolutionaries in Mexico. Rather, they were one of many different factions that arose in opposition to Diaz and his regime. Their opposition to American economic influence is what makes them and the Flores Magón brothers stand out from their fellow revolutionaries and reinforces the notion of the revolution as a working class affair. You see, he believed in the pen is mightier than the sword. A sword can conquer territory, but a pen can conquer beliefs and inspire people to action, leading to societal shifts. He was a revolutionary journalist who was imprisoned by the Mexican and U.S. government for his political activism. He was on a mission to get his message out and wake up the masses of his people. His father, an indigenous, was a veteran of the War of the Reform and the French Intervention. His mother, a mixed indigenous and European. His younger brother, Enrique, born in 1877, was a lifetime supporter of Ricardo. Jesus was the older brother. Ricardo became involved in student activism while studying law in Mexico City. He was first imprisoned in 1892 for leading a small demonstration against the re-election of Mexican dictator Porfirio Diaz. He soon joined with a small group of liberal reformers, with whom he founded the magazine Regeneración in 1900, an independent organ of combat to oppose the centralism and autocracy of the government of Diaz. Later, at the Liberal Congress held in San Luis Potosí in 1901, he publicly denounced the Diaz administration as a den of bandits. Ricardo was imprisoned twice for his radical activities with the group, and the government suppressed Regeneración in 1901. Following his third arrest in 1903, he was imprisoned in Belém and prohibited from publishing in Mexico for opposing the Diaz government. Flores Magón and several of the other radicals fled to the United States. Regeneración fueled a Flores Magonista movement in Texas. At the same time, other anti-Diaz publications were begun at Del Rio. After a local incident led to the arrest of Enrique, and after surviving an assassination attempt in Texas, Flores Magón moved with the rest of the group to St. Louis, Missouri, where they formally established the Mexican Liberal Party in 1905 and resumed publication of Regeneración. Ricardo became the PLM's most visible leader. Sometime in September 1906, Ricardo traveled back to Texas and met with Mexican Liberal Party factions in El Paso to coordinate an uprising in Mexico. Persecutions forced the group to abandon St. Louis, and in 1907, the Liberal Party established its publication in Los Angeles. Even though American officials initially viewed Ricardo as a Mexican problem, U.S. government agents soon shared an interest with Mexican officials in prosecuting him for his subversive writings. Following armed PLM campaigns and an economic crisis in 1907, the Mexican government hired private detective Thomas Furlong to capture Ricardo with the hope of extraditing him to Mexico. Though Furlong soon caught him in Los Angeles, the Mexican government was not able to secure his extradition. Instead, he was tried and convicted in Arizona for conspiracy to violate neutrality laws and was sentenced to 18 months in prison. After his release from the Florence Penitentiary in August 1910, Ricardo ushered in Regeneracion's third epoch and started plans for a Baja California revolt and an anarchist manifesto. The Baja Revolt led to his formal separation from Francisco Madero and the Maderista movement, and he was once again arrested in 1911. Ricardo's growing radicalism was curtailed by the moderating influence of liberals and socialists within the PLM. Ricardo would later describe the party's 1906 program and manifesto proposing taxation of church property, an 8-hour workday, a minimum wage, protection of indigenous peoples, and other reforms as timid. He was significantly more supportive of the 1911 manifesto that attacked private property and declared war against authority, capital, and the clergy. In 1912, he was again convicted of conspiracy under U.S. neutrality laws for his support of a short-lived invasion of Baja California by anarchists and members of the Industrial Workers of the World. In 1916, he was found guilty of mailing obscene material, specifically a call for the abolition of private property. In 1918, he was convicted of violating the Espionage Act of 1917 and the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917 and mailing indecent material, namely various articles from Regeneración. Ricardo was arrested on March 22, 1918 on a charge of sedition and eventually found guilty of violations of the Espionage Act of 1917. Under that act, he was accused of conspiracy to write and publish false statements that tended to interfere with the operation of the military and naval forces of the United States. He was sentenced to 20 years at McNeil Island, Washington State, and transferred in November 1919 to Leavenworth Penitentiary. Throughout his career, he had been aided by his lifetime companion and common law wife, Maria Talavera. In 1907, she was instrumental in developing socialist support for Flores Magonistas in the Los Angeles County Jail, and in 1918, she too was tried by a federal court in Los Angeles for violations of the Espionage Act. Ricardo was imprisoned for almost 8 of his 18 years in exile. In 1922, he was found dead in his cell at Leavenworth Penitentiary in Kansas. Officially, he had died of a heart attack, though it was speculated that he had been murdered by prison guards or died of medical neglect. After supporters transported his body to Los Angeles, Mexican railway workers paid to send Ricardo's body to Mexico City, where thousands of people attended his funeral. Let us not forget his name. Ricardo Flores Magón stood on business. He stood for his people. He honored his people. He respected his people. He was determined to fight for his people. He never gave up on his people. He gave his life to his people. And that's why we should honor and respect him. We must not forget our icons and heroes. And no, it is no exaggeration at all to say that this man was a hero. Don't let anyone say we have no heroes. Don't let anyone lie and try to rewrite your history. We got to start gatekeeping our culture. We got to start gatekeeping our icons and heroes. You see, they will never teach us about our heroes. So don't expect on the dominant society to teach your children about our heroes. Many schools have been replacing physical books with tablets and digital devices, a trend that accelerated in the 2010s and continues. And also, many schools have been eliminating libraries. That's why it's important for us to put our history in proper context. That's why it's important for us to have these conversations on the streets and on social media. And this concludes for tonight's broadcast. Until next time, family. And always remember, a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle.